Most of the people out there are fucking idiots, and people, if you're watching TV, if you're wasting a beautiful day and you're going to sit down, you don't want to be enlightened with some erudite conversation. You want...
No one encourages anyone to get intelligent. You know, it's just not cool.
What stupidity is today is a form of sort of brazen obliviousness. You're proud of what you don't know.
We don't accept anything on television that isn't, you know, the attention span is like 3 seconds, and it better be constantly amusing and titillating and sexual. And
Half the people out there are fucking retarded.
The first thing we need to know about stupidity is that we don't know very much about it. There is no Stupidity Institute, no prestigious center for the study of willful ignorance, no university of idiocy. In fact, even though we believe we see it every day, when asked, most people can't even define it.
I don't know.
Did you get that? That's stupidity, right there.
Stupidity? Boy, that's a tough one.
Well, it's actually fairly difficult to define, because you could think, well, somebody could be doing something, you could say, well, that's stupid, when really it could be ignorant, or somebody could be, I don't know, just going out of their mind, and you could say, well, that's not really stupid, now they're just crazy. And so it's really, it's hard to define.
Stupid? I really don't know. I don't know about that, because everybody made mistakes, nobody perfect.
I can't really say what I think is stupid, because again, that'd be my opinion.
Stupidity is not so cut and dry. For one can be educated, and they can at the same time be stupid.
It just can't be defined. There really, I don't know. There really is no definition of stupid, because something could be smart for somebody, but not, stupid for somebody else.
But if he stopped to think, he would see the stupidity of it all. Now he's too involved to think. He's having kicks.
It's a stupid question. How would I define stupidity? Herman, how would you?
I think a definition of stupidity is really just like, I can't think of one when I come to think about it.
Stupidity to me would be an inability to function in the reality of the world as a whole, Like, I wouldn't oh shit. And so it's really, it's hard to define. You can't, I don't even know what the definition is, so I really can't say, I can't define it.
Stupidity is perhaps so directly in our faces that we cannot see it. Not being able to see one's own stupidity is a human trait. Amazingly, in all of recorded history, there has never been a serious investigation of stupidity. The academic world has avoided the subject like the plague. Surprisingly, there are few books. All the academic texts ever written on the subject could barely fill half a shelf.
Up until now, there's been almost no study by serious academicians on stupidity. Most of the books that have been written, and there are only about 7 or 8, are really anecdotal books. They just really give you a whole string of examples of stupid behavior. And they're interesting books, they're amusing, they're fun to read. But everybody knows there's a lot of stupidity. That's nothing new. And when you read all those books, you don't come out really having learned anything other than they're more stupid people than you realize.
I've never found anyone who had a decent definition of intelligence or stupidity. We don't really know what it is, but it's there. We're scared of it. I mean, is there any systematic study of stupidity, or has there ever been? Not that I know of.
Well, I had a great deal of trouble getting the book published because publishers just wouldn't touch it. 20 years ago, stupidity was an absolute taboo topic. It just was not popular at all. I liken it to diarrhea today. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's something you have to live with, but nobody would analyze it or have anything to do with it.
The other thing is that it's scary, because we are all a little bit stupid, and we don't particularly want to admit it.
According to Marx already, stupidity was third in terms of world historical determining forces. First, as we of course know, there was capital that determined world events and world history. Then there was violence, and stupidity comes in third as being absolutely crucial and determinant in the shaping and contouring of world events.
You don't see too many books on the serious psychology bookshelves that have to do with stupidity. And I think part of the problem is anytime you study something negative, it gets stigmatized. And somehow people worry about kind of a contagion.
As long as we don't know what stupidity is, how can we know what knowledge is? We are very stupid. Einstein said that the universe and stupidity are infinite, but he's not so sure about, Einstein says that the universe and stupidity are limited, but he's not so sure about
No academic research, few books, and no emergency government inquiries into stupidity.
With Adam and Eve, they had a choice. See, they was told the laws of the land, do not. God told them, don't eat of the tree of knowledge.
From the very beginning, it seems, our world has had an uncomfortable relationship with knowledge and intelligence. One of the most powerful symbols of stupidity, the dunce cap, has an ironic history. John Duns Scotus, who lived in the 13th century, was one of the greatest philosophers of his time. A century later, he was already considered an idiot. We know little about the origins of the dunce cap. False theories abound, including one which had John Duns Scotus wearing conical caps to funnel knowledge. The origin of the dunce, like many other fables of stupidity, are lost in time. Even though we know very little about it, most of us have strong opinions about it. Most of us probably call someone or something stupid every day.
Well, you're a moron.
People call each other
Idiot.
Moron! But most of us have no clue where these terms come from.
What's a moron? A homeless person, I would have to say. Anybody that can't keep a job, anybody that has to rely on alcohol or drugs to keep going.
What about an idiot?
An idiot. Well, an idiot would be me. You're looking right at one. Anybody that really just is, I don't know, they don't really have a normal concept of thinking. You know, anything catches their eye. They don't really think straight or clear. My girlfriend, she's an idiot too. She even admits it.
Don't know how to define an idiot.
One who practices idiocy.
Maybe you're an idiot.
Somebody who thinks with everything except their brain.
An idiot is somebody who might be good at one thing but bad at just about everything else, including living. An idiot's someone who's probably of subpar intelligence, but thinks they're of excelled intelligence.
Idiots, morons, imbeciles, they're everywhere. Most of us act as if our roads are full of morons, as if our governments are run by imbeciles, as if most other people are basically idiots. But if most of us are idiots, what is an idiot? Who is an idiot? And where did the idiot come from? You may be surprised to discover the idiot came from France. The scientific concept of the idiot was popularized in Paris at the beginning of the 20th century. It was here that Alfred Bonnet invented the IQ test, which was actually, some say, a test of stupidity.
The original main IQ test was a test used to find mentally retarded people. And the phrases that were used to describe them, depending on their IQ, were, imbecile, idiot.
It looks like a good rating system. What do you do now?
Those phrases then took on, became stigmatized and took on meanings. You would never call, you would certainly never call someone with mental retardation now an idiot.
But today, just about everyone gets called an idiot at some point. So what is an idiot? If you agree with the concept of mental age, then most small children would technically be idiots.
Idiot is somebody who's fundamentally or inherently not very bright, and they don't have much of a choice about that.
Adults who act like babies may be huge idiots. Idiots by the original Greek definition, the unelected crowd.
Oh, an idiot is someone who literally doesn't go into public life.
Ordinary citizens are a bunch of idiots.
They invented and introduced the idiot to put forth the figure of someone who is pre-cognitive. So the idiot was the origin of us all. This is to say, this is a figure that is a clean slate, that has no memory traces, that is prior to language. So they invented and recruited the idiot in order to make points and score high points about reason and language. So the idiot was needed and created by philosophical inquiry.
Bonnet's IQ test also coined the term imbecile. An imbecile ranked one higher than an idiot. If your IQ is 0 to 25, then you are an idiot. 25 to 50, you are an imbecile. A French invention. The imbecile was more mobile than the idiot. The imbecile could move. Imbeciles are often associated with action, falling down the stairs, dropping things, causing accidents, or killing themselves. There are raging imbeciles, total imbeciles, and absolute total imbeciles. But for the psychologists of the time, idiot and imbecile were not enough. So a new kind of stupidity classification was created.
I think the moron is just clueless.
Someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. I would say that defines a moron.
Moron is more of a jerk than an idiot is?
I hope I'm not an idiot or a moron.
Are you a moron?
Moron was invented in the town of Vineland, deep in southern New Jersey.
Well, on the grounds of the training school, we had a research laboratory, and that's where Dr. Goddard worked out of. So, since a majority of his work took place out of that facility, which is no longer standing, unfortunately, I would imagine that's where that term was established. Just a matter of 100 yards or so from this facility. 1910. In 1910, Dr. Goddard proposed the term moron to identify higher-level individuals that were formerly labeled feeble-minded.
A big step up from an idiot and smarter than an imbecile. Being a moron originally was a good thing. Goddard worked and tested mentally retarded children, and he believed he had identified a higher functioning person.
In those days, children that were not very intelligent, put them in a closet, you put them in the attic, and they were abandoned, and he thought that he could train them. So he started giving them special attention, and he was so successful that he decided to enlarge the operation. In the old days, a moron was a person that had a low IQ, but might be a very nice person, might be very sensible, great person. But now, moron is derogatory.
What are some of the big inventions that were developed here in Vineland that you know about?
The big inventions, the biggest one was like probably I have not a clue.
They invented the word moron here.
I'm sorry?
The word moron was invented here.
No.
Wow, no, I did not know that.
It's surprising that we use that word a lot. Don't know that it comes from here, though.
That word was invented here in Vineland.
Well, I don't know that.
Did you know that?
Moron.
What is moron? Damn, that's cool.
Moron.
Yeah.
You use that word?
You never used that word?
Nah.
You never used the word? You never used the word?
See, that's the white folks' word.
Isn't that an interesting fact that the people in Vineland have very little concept of this?
I think they should give everybody a day off, make it moron day. Everybody get a day off for work. You know what I mean? Like that. Moron day, but just make a note that people in Vineland are not morons, but we just celebrate that day because the word was made up in Vineland.
How does it make you feel that Vineland is the home of the word moron, invented the word moron?
Kind of stupid.
Goddard believed stupidity was genetic. Stupid parents would have stupid children. Goddard believed that America was being quietly flooded with morons, imbeciles, and idiots. On Ellis Island, Goddard personally IQ tested immigrants.
Millions of these people are coming in every year. So the pressure is on the sociologists of those days to come up with something where they could say, yeah, this guy is okay. I mean, he does have a brain.
Thousands of immigrants, many who didn't speak English, were labeled morons and deported. And the IQ test became the dominant judge of human intelligence. In spite of, or because of Henry Goddard's best efforts, morons, it appears, are everywhere. The term moron lives on, although embarrassed psychologists officially retired the term. Today's moron is likely someone who appears normal, holds a job and drives a car, but is still a moron. Anyone could be one. Borderline deficiency and the dull normal have faded into obscurity, while the idiot, the imbecile, and the moron have become superstars. If there was ever a time when we could be smart, informed, and educated, it's now. Some will argue this is potentially the most enlightened period in human history. For thousands of years, mankind has advanced, developing systems of education, architecture, art, politics, science, and mass communication. But instead of reducing stupidity, these new developments may amplify it. We live in a world that can make us more intelligent than ever. We have more books, more movies, more information than we could possibly use. We have incredible knowledge at our fingertips. Almost anyone can be a filmmaker, or a radio station, or an international publisher. We have thousands of universities, tens of thousands of channels of TV, and millions of websites, and almost as much freedom as we want.
In today's modern world, it takes a lot of energy to be stupid. I mean, education is accessible, information is everywhere, and the world is full of lessons. To be stupid, you've got to work at it. And a lot of people are doing a great job.
We have more potential than ever. So how come so many of us would rather play dumb?
Turn on the television set, okay? Watch a program.
Television. There are billions of televisions in the world. The educational possibilities are astounding. TV can reach just about everyone. But does TV educate, inform, or enlighten? In fact, many believe that for some reason the television is a highly effective stupefying machine.
That's done very consciously. The main viewers of television are middle-aged, people in their 50s and their 60s. They have time for television. They're also the part of the population that has money to spend. But programs are not geared to their interests.
But we're not that smart. We're still stupid flesh monkeys. We haven't evolved to this point that we think that we are. We still like to watch retarded things happen on TV.
We are becoming stupider and stupider when it comes to dating. I mean, if you look at, some of the reality shows on television and watch people going out on dates, it's absolutely astounding. There was a whole That Stupid book, The Rules. It basically told women to be stupid.
Really? Wow.
And make sure that he feels smarter.
That's amazing. Really?
More interesting than you do.
Wow.
Because, otherwise you're going to intimidate him.
That's incredible.
Programming that tries to appeal to the lowest common denominator, that's simplistic.
Are you dumb? You live a brain.
Lowest moments is often effective in bringing more audience to the set.
But first, these government press releases read by a fashion model.
Headlines.
Every extreme news reporter is trained in hand-to-hand combat, interview karate, and hijack espionage.
The media is about dumbing down. The media is about simplifying. The media is about the 20-second soundbite.
Documentary, it's called Stupidity. The subject has been in the news, of course, lately. Explain the point you're trying to make here.
I think we're trying to make the point that stupidity has become a new trend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Suddenly, you realize you're sitting there, your mouth feels like cloth, your chest is covered with potato chip crumbs. You got a sour feeling like you've been, sleeping on the floor. You're all alone. You don't exactly know what you've been watching for all this time. You've been vaguely alarmed and vaguely aroused, but you're frustrated because there's been no release. That's a really criminal feeling. And, as bad as it is for adults, it's positively criminal to subject children to that kind of thing.
Part of it is our silly pandering to the youth. Youth, as anyone with any intelligence knows, are not the smartest people. That's why they're young. They haven't learned as much. Other societies don't even have to be reminded of these things. It's just part and parcel of it that you venerate the older people because they're wiser.
In general, my feeling about television is that an awful lot of it is very superficial. It's geared for about a 7-year-old's mentality.
Even though most of its viewers are not morons nor 7 years old. TV is literally geared towards a moronic mentality. Although it would surprise few that some television programming is dumb. Is it deliberate?
The programs are geared to the interests of teenagers. Why is that done? Well, because of studies that indicated that brand loyalty is established pretty young. So if you buy a Chevrolet first, chances are you'll keep buying them. So therefore, you want to gear the programs, you want to dumb them down to the level of children, because then you can trap them. You're going to trap them into a kind of brand loyalty, and then you don't have to worry about them too much later on. And that's extremely conscious.
No one encourages anyone to get intelligent.
This creates an interesting illusion. Older people get the feeling that most programming is geared towards a dumbed-down adolescent point of view, while for most teenagers and young people, they feel that the programming is for a lackadaisical older group. In fact, most TV programming is actually aimed at the inner moron. In a stressed-out world where people are overwhelmed by facts and endless details, stupidity can be appealing. The action-based, or what you might call imbecilic content, is aimed at all of us, whatever age. Treat people like they are teens, idiots, or dazzling morons. Bypass adult critical judgment and get to the hungry moron. Intelligent content may promote critical thinking, but treating people like morons pays.
Television particularly works on this rather destructive notion. I think people out there are stupid. If I appear to be intelligent, I will irritate them. So I'm going to be more stupid than they are, so they're going to like me.
I think the thing that I'm suspicious of, as far as television is concerned, is the brazen claim that so many people make to me that they watch it because they don't want to think. I think we've all heard this before. Oh, I just like to go home at the end of the day and veg. In other words, to arrive at a state of virtual catatonia. And I think that any medium that is attractive to us on that basis, we should just kind of, if we've got any brains left, we should realize, though, that that is potentially, that there is something potentially wrong with that. That is basically, it's a form of trance, it's a form of self-hypnosis. It turns us into passive consumers of images. And of course we need to relax, and of course we need to get away, but yet on the other hand, just kind of say that this is not having any effect, that it's just kind of like stepping outside for fresh air, is a really stupid thing to say.
The business world is deeply committed to try to induce people to become completely stupid, to trying to impose on people a philosophy of futility, and to focus their attention on the superficial things of life, like fashionable consumption, so as to keep them controlled, passive, atomized, direct their lives to amassing commodities.
Call TV dumb, but TV is not the only game in town. The cinema has often been declared the most intelligent medium yet. It's an experience that works on multiple senses. It can be used to take people places they've never been. It can put people in the shoes of people they don't know. It can demonstrate concepts and situations that are almost beyond imagination. It can bridge divides, explore complex ideas, and demonstrate previously unthinkable concepts. But like TV, could the cinema be dumbed down?
There are two ways in which Hollywood infantilizes the population. One is by only feeding us a diet of children's stories.
Hollywood's most recent successes have all been based on children's stories and comic books.
But another way is by so controlling the publicity and distribution of art in general. Their power is so great that they manage to squeeze out most other forms of art.
Hollywood follows a strict formula. If something is a hit book, then they turn it into a movie. But what's the impact? Well, it gives people an even stronger excuse not to read, as all the decent books will soon be movies. So now there is absolutely no reason to ever read a book.
But Hollywood promotes stupidity for another reason. Because the goal is to be in every market in the world. Movies that are less complex have little dialogue and can be easily translated, succeed, This, of course, favors movies centering on action, violence, and sex. Once again, stupidity rules. But there is yet another factor dumbing down cinema. Hollywood relies heavily on the legendary star system. Movie stars, not ideas, chart the course of film. But increasingly, because of the youth-obsessed nature of the movie business, the ideas in cinema are often in the hands of people who have almost no education.
Obviously, there's a real seduction to stupidity. You know, I guess it's the unwritten truth. That's what Hollywood actors in particular are ideally supposed to be, are blank slates. You know, the majority of them have never finished high school, including people you would think, considering their image, would have, like people like Uma Thurman, never finished high school. She has a academic father, but there you are. It's mostly they're discovered, you know, like Keanu Reeves, people like that. It's why part of the time they sort of foster a fake kind of book learning. It's why you'll find them in Vanity Fair and the thing Celebrity Bookshelf, you know, what am I reading now? And it's usually something metaphysical because they don't have the discipline of mind to separate, you know, things that are rubbish. And if you think about it, I mean, what is the age that you need to get discovered by? You need to be a teenager. So you really don't have time to finish your BA and then go off to Europe. You're going to be getting kind of long in the tooth by the time you come back and you're ready for your close-up in Maxim.
Okay, TV really is an idiot box. And the movies may have gone to the morons. But aren't there intellectual outlets targeting the thinking person?
I've worked as a journalist for various different media, broadcast and print. And every different magazine and newspaper will have a different rule that they tell you about the age level of their presumed audience. And it's always much younger than the adults you know to be reading it. So in certain extreme cases, I've been told you're writing for a grade 8 audience. At more sophisticated newspapers, I've been told you're writing for a high school audience. I know for certain broadcasters, I've been told you're writing for grade 10.
There seemed to be an assumption by executive producers, especially in the higher ups within the TV chain, that you're talking to stupid people, that you're talking to orangutans at the zoo.
They're terrified of alienating viewers or listeners, and they know that if there are too many words people don't understand, they're going to flip to something easier.
There's no doubt that people in the media and people in politics even more so tend to assume that the audience are morons.
Assuming the audience are morons is a tried and true strategy for commercial success. If stupidity is a kind of epidemic, have no fear. The academics are here. Surely our official intellectuals can tell us what to do. Unfortunately, they appear to live in an entirely different universe. Universities are beer halls. Dumb is sexy.
Is there any sign of any intellectual activity at your university?
What do you mean by intellectual?
People reading books, somebody playing the violin, intellectual debate, that kind of thing?
No, man.
Modern universities are like an intelligence placebo. They're there because there are all of these terrible issues of the day: terrorism, the coming climate catastrophe, World War III. And people want to know that there's somebody somewhere out there doing something about it. And so if they ask, well, who's doing this? Well, you say, the universities. Except they're not. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
What about people with high IQs? Are they beyond stupidity?
The initial idea for the book was during the Clinton administration because there seemed to be so many smart people in both parties who were acting in stupid ways. When you're talking about people doing the kinds of stupid things like you'd see at Enron, they commit 4 fallacies. They've been so rewarded in their lives that they become very focused and centered on themselves, and they stop caring about outcomes for other people. The second fallacy is what I call the omniscience fallacy, and that is most of these very smart people surround themselves by sycophants. They start to think they know everything. So part of wisdom is knowing what you don't know.
Each new scientific development in the weapons of war presents a new challenge. And the people of Portland, through working together, they're ready.
The third fallacy is what I call the omnipotence fallacy. They start to think they're all powerful, and they start acting as though they can do anything they want. And the fourth fallacy is what I call the invulnerability fallacy, and that is they start to think they're Superman. So if you put those four fallacies together, what can happen is that very smart people start to do incredibly stupid things.
I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
All of these people, by any standard, would have done very well on IQ tests, SATs, but they acted in ways that were stupid.
Or is it possible that we're all stupid? We may all appear stupid by nature for what may seem like a strange reason. Every day, each of us loses consciousness and descends into a state of nonsensical gibbering when we sleep and dream. Upon awakening, who hasn't found themselves drooling, almost like an idiot, or stumbling, almost like an imbecile, or feeling like a moron because we cannot focus, cannot follow what's going on? Many of us travel from idiot to genius and back every day. Perhaps there is nothing wrong with stupidity itself. Stupidity can be funny, endearing, perhaps even liberating. After all, we were all idiots, imbeciles, morons at some time. Many of us still are. One thing is clear. Stupidity is in our very nature. It is part of learning.
Stupidity and intelligence had nothing to do with education. There are people with not much formal education who are extremely bright. And I've met university professors who are totally stupid.
What I think is, look, there's book smart, there's street smart, there's common sense. And you get many a guy who graduated from Harvard and can't get along in the real world. It can't function. It's almost like an idiot savant. And yet you got some street guy that grew up that didn't graduate high school that's a multimillionaire.
You know, I know manual workers who are, I think, smarter than the people in the faculty clubs and solve harder problems.
They're just happy having their 9-to-5 job. The kids jump on them when they come home. Like I said, they eat a plate of pasta. Sunday they get along with their family. I don't think they're dumb guys. I just think maybe they're the smart ones that know what they want out of life.
A new media has come along, offering mass interactivity and freedoms beyond the conventional media. The rise of the internet heralded a grand new age of new media, new technology, and new intelligence. The low-cost, high-access internet was going to cause an explosion of information and officially empower intelligence.
Bert is Evil was a means for me to put Bert as a scapegoat for every bad thing that's happened in history, and making him the evil mastermind throughout the stupid things and the dumb things and the evil things that have gone on through history. It was just a fun way of poking at reality, and I think that was one of the strengths of the web back then, is just that you could do stuff like that and get away with it, because it wasn't under a microscope, or it's not really part of media as a whole back then. Picture of Bert with Osama bin Laden was not mine. That came along well after I stopped making the site. When I stopped making it, a whole lot of mirror versions of it popped up all over the internet in different languages. The picture of Bert with bin Laden ended up on posters in these anti-American rallies in Pakistan a month after the incident in New York. It was all over these rallies, and people were carrying them, and they were posted on walls. Supposedly, this printing press that made the posters just gathered pictures all over the internet of Osama bin Laden and put them all together collaged as a poster. Somehow missed the fact that he was sitting beside a puppet. It was really weird seeing fabricated reality hit reality and be part of real history. It's just so screwed up. Calls kept coming in from news agencies, almost like labeling me as a terrorist, asking me how long I had known about the September 11 attacks.
Will the internet, the great interactive, freewheeling, intelligent medium, go the way of television?
I think people want stupid media as a break from all this information influx that they're getting. You're just like bombarded with so much information anyway, so you don't really want to know about important things anymore. You just want to see, slapstick. You want to see some tits and ass. You want to see some slapping. You want to see some people hurting each other on TV. People just want it. And we're giving it to them because it's just getting easier and easier to make stuff. And it's also, on the other end of it, is that there's just so many avenues for immediate release of information. And when you're all about immediacy, you run out of things to say. And when you run out of things to say, you just say the stupidest things. People are going to ask for more stupid stuff, and just get stupider and stupider.
The fact that there is a culture of deliberate stupidity is strange proof that someone or something is working to keep us stupid. Nothing proves this better than the new trend towards what we can only call super stupidity. In an age of quantum physics and mapping the human genome, it is the imbeciles of Jackass and backyard wrestling who are reshaping the youth of today.
Stupid is funny, basically, because people find that funny. People will stand up and say, I'm poor. They'll stand up and say I'm short. They'll stand up and say I'm bald. They'll say I'm powerless. They'll say I have a crappy job. They'll admit all sorts of things about themselves.
I'm a fucking worthless piece of shit.
But you very rarely find anyone who will stand up and say I'm stupid. I don't understand a lot of stuff. So therefore, it's just funny when you see someone else and it's stupidity. Watch this. Uh-oh. There's a sort of a worship of stupidity. The stupidest thing possibly I've seen in my life was Jackass the movie, and I laughed.
I just think that Jackass was a more kind of outrageously stupid phenomenon. I mean, it celebrates its stupidity and it trumpets its stupidity. And that's also part of, I think, the culture that we're living in today. I think what stupidity is today is a form of sort of brazen obliviousness. You're proud of what you don't know. 10 years ago, the T-shirt that one can imagine the culture wore relating to this particular phenomenon would be "I'm with stupid." Today's T-shirt would be "I'm stupid."
Paramount Pictures and MTV Films insist that neither you nor your dumb little buddies attempt any of what you're about to see.
When the culture goes moronic, the moronic get dangerous.
This is the zenith of stupidity. The Steve O show. You're at the apex of all things that are stupid.
Mike can pick up fucking roaring of the crowd. 1,900 wasted people here and 100 undercover cops.
Hey, pretty much
sum it up in the warning that comes on the screen at the beginning of the show. It says, "Warning. The show you've come to see involves heinous abuse of alcohol, horribly crude behavior, and body-damaging stunts performed by idiots under the supervision of no one."
Not a dumb guy.
Civilization. It's not, man. This is just kids having fun.
It's the most fun thing to do in the world. Because it's not really like smart, dude. I'm a smart dude. I mean, I make A's and shit, but dude, I like to jump off shit. I like to get a reaction. I like to be the center of attention, dude.
You're a smart guy, but you're doing this.
Oh, it's stupid as hell, but I love it.
Jeff, you're an idiot!
Ironically, while a culture of deliberate stupidity is reaching its apex, the challenges facing the world would seem to require more intelligence. Perhaps nothing demonstrates our collective stupidity like our haste to destroy our own planet and our efforts to deny it.
The warnings have been there. We have become the most numerous mammal on Earth. Most people are shocked at that. There are more of us than all the rats in the world, than all of the mice, than all of the rabbits. We are the most numerous mammal on the planet. So we have now overshot the carrying capacity of the entire planet. What we're doing is eating into the biological capital of the earth. This can't continue. It's not sustainable. What we are doing now, we have become a powerful force as no other species in the 3.8 billion years life has existed. No other species has been able to alter the biological, physical, and chemical features of the planet as we are doing now. If you tell people by driving a big SUV, you're contributing to global warming and making it worse, and global warming is this really serious catastrophe, they don't go out and sell their SUV, they buy a bigger one. This is one of the things that's been found, is that if people have fear and they feel there's not much you can do about it, then what they do is the opposite of what they should be doing. And what we are doing as we alter the biophysical basis of the planet is that we're pulling apart the system that is completely interconnected. We're changing the atmosphere. The oceans now are radically altered. As we do this, there are repercussions. Something's going to happen. We're not willing to be cautious and take out any insurance. Form of modern stupidity. Virtually all of modern technology has happened in the last 100 years. So that gives each of us a tremendous footprint now, because with technology we can do all kinds of things. Couple that with a tremendous consumptive appetite. Man, we want more stuff. And a global economy that's driving all of our consumption. Then what human beings are doing is unprecedented. We're not making headway. We're going backwards. We're losing big time. I've said, I feel that we're in a giant car heading at a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, and everybody is arguing about where they want to sit.
We have the education and intelligence to contend with the problems facing us. Why wouldn't we just apply our incredible resources to making our world the place we believe it should be? Ironically, it is our very beliefs that may be hindering us.
Only a heart that believes on the Lord Jesus will have entrance there. There is only one thing we can take with us through that door, those whom we have led to the Savior.
One of the few theories of stupidity to emerge in recent times is the relationship between stupidity and belief systems. Basically, human beings don't really know what's going on. So as a defense mechanism, they often construct rigid belief systems to help them navigate the world.
Everyone has a belief system, which I call a schema, and because of the belief system, people process information deferentially, meaning if it's information that confirms the schema, they take it in. If it's information which challenges the schema, they reject it. So if a person is involved in a course that's detrimental to his own best interest, he will not process the information that is indicating that.
A failure to see things as they really are, to be open to new information. This is the mechanism for the creation of stupidity.
Because they won't learn. So I define stupidity as the learned corruption of learning.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's when I realized that's what made people stupid.
They know what God wants. They know what Allah wants. Christians know what the Lord is telling them to do. Orthodox Jews know everything too.
The idea that we have the right answers.
I knew it all the time.
If you have a belief system which purports to explain the way the universe works, and it keeps you from getting a better belief system, then in that sense, religions can be very stupid.
Is war the ultimate form of stupidity? Although weapons are increasingly accurate, the results are almost always disastrous. The actual battlefield is anarchy, with unintended, usually tragic results.
As war becomes bigger and more dangerous, it's obvious to everyone that this is something we should bring under control, have we? But war is very stupid, by definition, and we're still at it. We haven't been able, as a community, to get rid of it. Isn't that very, very, very stupid? We know we should.
One of the major reasons that World War II occurred was the assumption that it couldn't. And after World War II, it went the other way. I think maybe very much to our advantage. Everyone knew there could be a World War III and worked to prevent it. And for all the problems we have in international relations, and we do have them, we have to admit we have not had World War III.
The word idiot comes from the Greek word idios, which was their word for the masses of people. For the Greek politicians felt that the masses were, of course, idiots, as we now consider them. But they ruled over their idiots. Nowadays, we are ruled by the idiots. We pander to the masses, for the masses, and the masses elect people who, if they're not idiots themselves, certainly pretend to be.
One man perhaps embodies all the qualities of power stupidity. He has the innocent charm of the idiot, the clumsiness of the imbecile, and he has been called a moron many times. He subscribes to ancient belief systems, has marshaled the power of ignorance, and fostered a climate of super stupidity. He believes in war, and may be the most powerful man in the world. Under his control, a stupefied planet is being rushed to the brink.
If you hear Bush speaking, you might say, this guy can't talk, this guy can't use words, he's stupid.
But I'm committed to reducing the amount of nuclear weaponry.
His inability to speak reflects a specific problem with language that does not equate to stupidity. I happen to think he is also stupid for other reasons.
The frankly mood of the world would have been astounded.
He doesn't have a low IQ. He doesn't have a limited capacity to learn and understand. He just hasn't bothered.
Let me say something about Bush and Bushisms. You know, one of the things I was always struck by talking to him was at the same time as he would stumble over the simplest things, he had a kind of depth of language in other ways.
He calls the people of Pakistan's Pakis.
I think Bush his whole life has been extremely intellectually lazy, extremely incurious. He doesn't want to know the details of anything. He doesn't want to learn about anything. He's not interested in policy. He's not interested in history. Having unconsidered and automatic religious beliefs that dictate your political views is another way of choosing stupidity.
We have a president who prides himself on his bluntness. He, therefore, exults in certain propositions.
This will be a monumental struggle of good versus evil.
That don't add up. They don't make sense, but they sound firm.
And it's a struggle between good and it's a struggle between evil.
The media will not raise any of the rational questions that real journalists would raise for a rational population of citizens of a democracy. This is what happens. You have an official statement by the president, which is inane and nonsensical.
And it's a struggle between good and it's a struggle between evil. One of my hardest parts of my job is to console the family members who've lost their lives.
The media simply presents it, and the media's sheer presentation has a kind of authority. They raise no questions. They don't make the obvious point. They don't say, wait, whoa, what are you talking about?
Because I know what it means to put food on your family. Huh?
What endears President Bush to so many is that he can seem like a regular idiot, just like the rest of us.
My State of the Union, or my speech to the nation, whatever you want to call it.
September 11th allowed Bush to do was to basically rewrite the world in black and white, simple terms. In other words, to rewrite the world in clear TV terms, and to use the most simplistic kind of language and in the most obvious sense, a strong sense of televisual conviction and persona. That basically there was a rejuvenation of the Bush administration as a result of that. That's not stupid, but that is taking advantage of some of the simplifications that we might ascribe to stupid culture.
Intriguingly, the intellectuals around the Bush presidency championed an idea that the people were not intelligent enough to lead themselves and required bold, decisive leaders to tell them what to think.
And indeed, when he gives very serious speeches where he's threatening war and establishing claims to the legitimacy of his threats, he acts as if he's speaking to children. So his own stupidity gets projected as the infantilization of the other.
Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
What the hell was that he just said?
Yesterday, a senior government official called the President of the United States a moron.
What a moron.
A moron? Moron.
He's a friend of mine, and he's not a moron at all.
Will the government hold the official who called the President of the United States a moron accountable by demanding his or her resignation?
He is a well-educated guy, even though some people don't seem to think he is.
He's not well-educated, but he went to the good schools.
Only an advantage is not being too smart, because people don't like know-it-all. So for some people, to appear as an average Joe has a lot of benefits.
And then you have all the ignorant people identifying with it. Hey, one of ours got in the White House.
Candidates are not real people. They're trained puppets. So George Bush, for example, who's an elite Yale fraternity boy, is trained to make him look like he's a Texas roughneck. So he has to say heck and gosh and, put a cowboy hat on.
We all fall for it. What, I mean, are we stupid? No!
And it certainly is always an advantage in politics to be underestimated. Bush has been underestimated for years, and lo and behold, he's won the election, pushed through major tax cuts, fought and won 2 wars in the space of a year and a half. I mean, the guy has actually a fairly impressive track record, whether you agree with it or not. He's achieved the things he wants to achieve.
Well, misunderestimated is an accidental coinage of Bush's. He said people have always misunderestimated me. Of course, what he meant to say was simply they've underestimated me, which goes to this point about him setting the bar low and skipping over it. But in fact, picking up the term, I think we have misunderestimated Bush.
They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. And neither do we. And neither do we.
Is the president a moron? Probably not. Is he an imbecile or an idiot? No, but he may play one on TV. In President Bush's world, there is no such thing as intelligence. One thing is clear. Stupidity rules the world. Perhaps it's time for stupidity to become a subject of deliberate study and analysis. Perhaps it's time that we examine the awesome power of stupidity and how it can be turned against us, rendering us all idiots. If we can learn to understand the power of our stupidity, we may understand the incredible power of our intelligence. Our world has more than a few critical issues facing it. We may want to be smart for once. And then again, maybe not.
If someone said to me I was an enormous idiot, I would say thank you very much. Well, I got the idea for my book, Get Stupid. Pretty much for my own life, I was sad and confused, and I was trying to find a solution. And eventually I realized that admitting you have a problem isn't the solution, it's the problem. So when you think about something, you're just causing damage to yourself. I thought a lot about thinking, and I eventually decided it was best not to think. My slogan is, a mind is a terrible thing. Unfortunately, since we came down from the trees, the society forces you to think at a very young age, so you have to instill a willful stupidity, which is ignorance. If you saw a herd of cows, people think cows are stupid, I think it's generally agreed, would those cows be happier knowing that they were cows and that they would be milked and then slaughtered? No, they wouldn't be happier from that. So why would people be happier knowing that their life is pointless? It's actually thinking that's caused all the damage. You don't see fish burning coal, for example, or creating missiles. Fish swim and they do it well. But it's actually, I think, intelligence that has gotten people into trouble. And we'd all be a lot better off if we just stopped doing that. You have to retrain yourself to stop thinking, to stop wondering. And my book, of course, has a 7-step program to relieve you of thinking. And not only just thinking, emotions as well. You could be back to being a true idiot within a week. Stop thinking is the first step in my program. It's probably the simplest and the most important. Because if you want to become stupid and ignorant, the first thing you have to do is stop thoughts from entering your brain. You're drunk and you drive a car and you have an accident. The natural inclination is to blame yourself for this when it's not your fault. And when you blame yourself, then you start thinking again. So you have to stop that. Instead, you shift the blame to things like the bar, forcing you to drink, car companies for creating cars that can damage telephone poles, and especially the telephone companies for putting telephone poles on the road which you could run into. Once you let go of emotions and you've stopped thinking, then you have to stop feeling things like love. If you build walls, they will be stuck outside forever. Most people think that challenge is good, but challenge is bad. When children are told that they can be anything they want to be, it's just a lifetime of tragedy. They're told that they can be smart, that they can be handsome or pretty. If you go to a shopping mall and look at the children, most of them are stupid and ugly. The most important thing to do about denying is to deny to yourself that you have denied. It's a very hard mental state to be in. So once you deny something because you have to protect yourself, then you have to quickly forget that you ever denied anything. It's not enough just to sit there and look stupid. When you become stupid, you owe it to the world to spread stupidity, explode with ignorance, to throw up on the street, to call people's names, to parade naked, to get drunk. There's all of these poor thinking people out there who are trapped by thoughts and doubts. And then when they see you up there screaming like an idiot, they'll go, what am I missing? Why is this moron so happy? It's because they know you have something they don't. They know that you have the secret to life. If you do manage to reach that moment of pure stupidity, you will actually never know it.
by stupid people. Clever people wouldn't even try. If you want a place in the history books, then do something dumb before you die. Nobility are famous for no reason. Marie Antoinette enjoyed her cake. She caused a revolution when she would not share, and her husband lost his head for that mistake. The Hindenburg was a giant zeppelin. Its makers made a minor oversight. Before they filled it up with explosive gas, they should fix the no-smoking watching bad TV. Just remember you should be quite grateful. At least they are not making history.